with us on Morning Express. It's about time to move past the reports being filed in by our correspondents and engage our analysts as we look to review headline stories together. Now joining us virtually is the president of the Nigerian Nexus, Patriot Desmond Olaiwajufobi. Hello, good morning to you, Patriot, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Vito. Good to be here this morning once again.
Now let's begin with the first conversation on our lineup this morning. Yesterday on Sunday, the pan-social-political Yoruba group, Afenifere, had strong words for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's scorecard. Whilst the presidency is applauding an improvement in FAAC allocations to states, up by over 62%, the Afenifere believe that the scorecard has been labeled a massive propaganda and does not actually reflect the plight of Nigerians. What do you make of the position of Afenifere and the president's scorecard following his second year in office anniversary?
Well, Vito, the first question that I would like to ask is, who is the Afenifere? Who are the Afenifere? Well, to the best of my knowledge, the Afenifere, if you want to translate it in English language, are the progressives. And I want to be sure which quarter of these progressives is making this altercation.
It's coming in from the National Publicity Secretary, Oba Oladipo Olaita. He's the one who is credited with this report.
Is it the aggrieved member of the progressives or who? You see, the truth is this: there are certain institutions in this part of the world that ordinarily are not expected to join politics. Politics of doom, politics of animosity, and politics of selfish interest, negating the national interest. I've been following the activities of Afenifere in the last 10 years. And I personally, in my opinion, I feel like Afenifere has derailed from its original vision and purpose. It's more or less now like a glorified organization that is no longer living to the expectation of the Yoruba people. You see, the truth of the matter is the president, the government of President Ahmed Tinubu may have differed or alter in their agenda, but then it is not expectant of Afenifere, who also has halted and derailed from its original core vision and value. So for me personally, I will not want to join my voice with that of Afenifere to say that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu government is run on propaganda. But if there are issues of some lack of implementation of policies or budget, bring it up, Bito. Let's talk about that. But to join issue with that of Afenifere is something that I wouldn't want to go into.
Now let's talk about the points the presidency is drumming this morning. They're drumming on the fact that in the last 2 years under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, there has been significant improvements in FAAC allocation to states owing to the removal of fuel subsidy. 18 trillion has been saved up in the last 18 years. But the challenge with that is, as much as that is the fact, some economics are arguing that the true value of the currency in its dollar equivalent might not be that significant, and that the state governors have failed to translate this improved FAAC allocations into better quality of life of their citizens. How do you assess this argument?
Vito, you said two things. First, you said that it is a fact that there have been increments in the allocation of FAAC to states. That is one. Then number two, you also said that it is now at the mercies of state governor to utilize that money in the improvement of lives and quality, the quality of lives of the citizenry within the state. First of all, I'm happy that the federal government, under the regime of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had made significant, has saved significant amount of money and also increased the allocation to state. Why that is a fact, there are some silent acts part of it, and that is this savings has not really translated in the quality of lives of the people. That is also a fact. A lot of state governments today have been accused in the past of diverting money to their personal accounts. Some state government today have not lived to expectation, have not, in all ramifications and in sincere terms, improve the quality and the lots of their people, despite the increment in FAAC allocation. And that is where the issue lies, and that is where the burden is. For me, we have to look at the value of life of the people. Sincerely speaking, the policies of this government under the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, why that policy had made so much effort in increasing FAAC allocation, it has depreciated the quality and the lives of a lot of many people. And that is where the government needs to do something. It's not about increment on the allocation. What you should be focusing or targeting is the quality of life. What is the value and what can the salary of civil servant? What is the value of Naira? What is the purchasing power of Naira? The current situation in the market now is that even if you're collecting 2 times of your salary, you could not still meet ends meet in Nigeria. That is the issue. It is not about the increment of allocation to state. It is about what is the purchasing power of Naira. A society whereby it is either between the rich and the poor, the middle class, who are supposed to be the shock and absorber of every economy, is gradually dwindling down. Now, why that allegation, or why that is one problem in one hand? The other bigger problem is the irresponsibility of state government. A lot of state government today are collecting good money from FAAC, good allocation. We have seen some state government that has translated this money into projects. Go to Enugu State. You can see what is happening in Osun State. Look at Niger State. Look at what they are doing with FAAC allocation. Go to Anambra State. Look at projects. That is a testimony that truly there have been improved FAAC allocation to states. But what the government of Nigeria and state government need to sit at the round table is about restoring middle class and cushioning the effect of the economy. Nigerians are the most affected by all these policies, and some of the state government have been so irresponsible in trying to shock the observer. In short, it's only the federal government that is making so much effort in terms of intervening in the what? In supporting the livelihood of the people. The state government are doing nothing. We need to talk to them.
Now, the challenge with that is this question of local government autonomy, because up until now, the subject of dedicated accounts from local governments directly to CBN largely remains underreported. Most states are still using joint accounts to receive this FAAC allocation. Patriot Desmond, how do we hold government accountable for this dedicated account to be open and money to be disbursed directly from the federal government to the third tiers?
Well, this is one of the policy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that I can liken or describe as political instruments, to woo states. One thing you must never take from this president of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is that he's a strategist and he's a core politician. But I don't expect a man of his caliber, a leader of his caliber, age, and antecedents to be joining in this kind of politics. What this government has done successfully is that they have used that instrument to woo a lot of state governors to decamp from their party to APC. Because it is just a charade. What we have seen, at the pronouncement of this very important judgment by Supreme Court brought a lot of happiness. It brought a lot of hope. It brought a lot of confidence to the Nigerian people. But after a year of watching the drama between the Accountant General, between the Supreme Court, between the federal government, the state government, and even the process of electing local government leaders, have shown that it is just a political instrument. That bill or that law, in as much as is an important law to strengthen local governments and to strengthen delivery of dividend of democracy to the grassroots. If you study the whole architectures of that bill, that law, and that policy, you will find out that it is just one of those instruments by the federal government to either lobby or coerce state government to join the ruling party. Because there are a lot of shady deals going on. If you look at the process of electing local government chairman, it will beat your understanding, Bito. Now, we are talking about what is the purpose. Law always look at what is the remedy that this judgment is going to bring. Why are we going into that judgment in the first place? The reason for local government autonomy is so that we can strengthen the dividend of government to what? To the grassroots. But with the process of electing chairman, councillor that we have seen in this country, that policy is a failed policy. The local government chairman we have in Nigeria today are still stooge to the governors of states. The federal government has just make a step towards winning the fight. Much more steps still needed to be taken by the federal government, but I'm not saying federal government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu taking that step. Yes, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government has opened our eye that this is possible. But what I expected from this government to do, they have not done it. Who does that? How do you expect a state governor to conduct a process, an electoral process in the state that will give neutral people or that will give his political enemy the opportunity to become chairmen and councillors in the state? I saw what happened in Lagos State. I talked about that last time. Do you know that up until this last election in Lagos State, the primary that was conducted in Lagos State, it was handwritten, robbing the people of their franchise and their legitimacy to vote for their choice. Is it this crop of chairmen and crop of councillors that will give the dividend of government to the people? No. They will rather give the dividend of government to the people who brought them to power. And that is the real problem. It's not about the local. I have lost interest and I've lost hope in this local government autonomy because this will not reflect the wills and caprices of the people. Instead, it will further exonerate the legitimacy of state governors to have control over the local government chairman and government.
Now, Petro Desmond, whilst this is for a fact and issue that we might continue to grapple with, let's also talk about current economic woes. Whilst we talk about this political angles to this conversation, the manufacturing sector again is complaining that over the last 2 years, about 767 companies have had to close shop. 18,000 jobs have been lost in that regard. And now the alternative cost of doing business in terms of if you're running your business on either petrol or diesel has also dropped off over 1.1 trillion naira. This is as we continue to battle epileptic power supply and other challenges of inflation in the country. We continue to talk about the fact that moving to a productive economy would be one of the ways to help diversify our economy, but currently it seems as though we are not making sufficient grounds in that direction. How do we re-strategize and focus on an actual $1 trillion economy through the manufacturing sector?
First of all, to achieve that $1 trillion economy, we will need to make improvements in our electricity generation and distribution. The federal government needs to make a sincere effort in ensuring that there is power supply. Why that is a fact that grows the economy, we also need to look at the irresponsibility of some of our producers. Some of these companies that we so-called producing company, some of them are not really producing anything. They just come for repackaging. I can tell you categorically that most of the companies that is folding or closing down their business in Nigeria today are some of those companies that just come here to do repackaging after importing almost everything. This economy, seriously, the people that this economy are favor mostly are those in production. In short, the reason for unification of our foreign currency is so that you can encourage local producer, because you make everything in Nigeria cheap. You make manpower cheap. You make everything cheap. Labor, cost of production cheap. That's the essence of that bill. The pronouncement of unification of dollar, foreign currency in Nigeria, FS in Nigeria, is so that you can improve and woo a lot of producers into Nigeria. That is the advantage. The unification of money does not favor the ordinary citizens. It favors those who are in business. So for business people or companies to be closing down, they need to be investigated. Could it be that this business are thriving on corruption or illegality? For me, I sincerely do not believe that genuine company will be closing down under this economy. Let me tell you, do you know how many people, since the unification of our foreign currency in this country, of our exchange rate in Nigeria, you see that there are more companies opening up. Look at some of my friends. I have 3 of my friends that have opened bottled water company, pure water company, because of what? Return on investment and cost of production lower than before compared to what they get. This economy is not affecting people that are producing anything. This economy is affecting the poor people, those who are not producing. And let me tell you, the only area where the whole of this thing that is happening in Nigeria can affect producer is if they don't have steady supply of power. And that is where I can side with the producers that is closing down. But in every aspect of production, the producers are gaining more than the consumer.
The Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, PCNGI, has now been reported as having encountered a massive hitch nationwide when you look at the number of refueling stations and conversion centers. Remember that following subsidy removal, CNG buses were one of the alternatives that were supposed to act as a respite for Nigerians to bring down the cost of transportation. In your honest analysis of this scheme, how well would you say it has fared? And is this slow adoption something that would improve in the next 2 years under President Bola Tinubu's first term in your projection?
First of all, I've said it before, that our government style in Nigeria has always been reactionary instead of being proactive. In all sincerity, I know that the system wouldn't have been a success anyway. It wouldn't have been. Because if you look at the number of refilling stations that we have nationwide and the level of advertisement that was made and the level of the number of people that is converting their system, their car system from PMS, premium motor spirit, to CNG, compressed natural gas, you will know that there will be a time where that system will crash. It will crash because you need to have number of stations across. And then if you look at the process of powering a CNG station, you will know that it's not something that anybody can achieve easily because it's so capital intensive. It's capital intensive. What federal government would have focused on and strongly pay attention to is our gas supply. You cannot supply gas with cascades and expect that there will be availability of these products. Do you know that till tomorrow, CNG gases are still being transported from the south to southwest and to the north central and northwest? So under that process, look at the number of, do you know the cost of acquiring one of the cascades, trailers, the trailers and the cascade that you use to move the CNG from one region to another region, and compared to the number of Nigerians that is in need. And that is why if you go to their refilling station, you find out about 5,000 people are waiting to get gas. You see a very long queue. So under that process, it wouldn't have had meaningfully or significantly to the economy, because the working time where these vehicles are naturally supposed to help commuters, they're lying value in refueling station waiting for gas. What government needs to do, a sincere government, a serious government, will make efforts to ensuring that they accelerate action on the KKK pipeline projects that is originally signed by President Muhammadu Buhari to run from Niger Delta. Pipeline was supposed to be built since 2020. That project has been in line since about 2018, 2020. That was when that project has been in line. But as I speak to you today, Bito, the federal government has not really mobilized massively to complete that project. Until the completion of the KKK pipeline project, we are still going to be having this epileptic supply of gas. And if that is the case, a lot of people will not be willing to go into setting up the gas station. It's not about setting up the gas station that is the big deal. The big deal is how do you transport the CNG from their what? From their depot to the gas station. And if we have a depot, like we have petrol depot across the country, if we have CNG depot across in every state in Nigeria, I tell you, a lot of people will be moved to do investment in setting up these stations across Nigeria, and that would contribute significantly to the policy and affect the economy. But as it is right now, the CNG initiative by the president is a total failure. A total failure that has not contributed any way to reducing the cost of transportation or even contributes to the movement of commuters from one location to the other. So for me, sincerely speaking, like you requested, that I must be sincere in my analysis, this initiative is a failure. But it is a step in the direction if only federal government can accelerate actions in ensuring that this KKK pipeline project from the south, from the Delta, from Niger Delta, from Akwa Ibom State to Lagos, Akwa Ibom State to Nigeria, to FCT and other northern state, Kano, where it's supposed to end. It would make that presidential CNG initiative a success.
Now, lastly, before we let you go, this is another sad occurrence. Whilst many talk about the perennial flood issue in Niger, quite sadly, the death toll has crossed 153. And more states are looking to evacuate victims in flood-prone areas. We're back to another year of raining season. It's a yearly debate now. How best can we approach this issue of flood as we continue to commiserate with those who have lost their families?
Fight corruption.
Say again?
Fight corruption. Fighting corruption.
In terms of the ecological funds or how?
Let me tell you, the ecological funds. Let me tell you what has happened with the ecological funds. The ecological fund that runs into billions of naira is not just only meant to support victims of flood. That is not the essence of it. That fund is meant to carry out research as well as to make adequate topography and some level of drainage in our environments and areas that is prone to this flooding. Whether you call it Anambra State, whether you call it Benue State, whether Niger State, whether Kogi State, this fund is meant to create a proper safe haven for movement of water, whether from dam, whether from rain, fall, or any situation. But you see that the friends of the president in the last 25 years, the friends of the president will just write an invoice, bring a caricature project around ecological and collect money, and that money is for their self-aggrandizement. They divert the money. And the EFCC, ICPC, and other agency of government that is saddled with the responsibility to ensure responsiveness and prohibit poverty in the pursuit of this project do nothing.
No, I believe this is indeed
one of the most easiest way of diverting fund in Nigeria, and where people have not paid so much attention, is the ecological fund. This money.
I think this indeed is a wake-up call from Patriot Desmond. Unfortunately, time is not our friend. Would have loved to expand the conversation to get more opinions and his thoughts on how we can hold governments accountable. But we must say thank you to the president of the Nigerian Nexus, Patriot Desmond Olariwaju, for joining the program this morning.